Hello and welcome to the Postgrad webinar session today. Today's date is the 21st of May 2026, and today we're joined by Cranfield University, who are going to be talking to us about the prestigious Chevening applications and how you can go about applying, what makes it such a great scholarship, and why it's such a sought-after opportunity. Now, before we do hand over to the team, a reminder that today's session is live. If you have any questions, please pop your questions in the Q&A facility, and we'll try and get around to it in the dedicated time slot at the end. This session will be made up of informative sessions. There will be a Q&A, a panel discussion also, and various different bits and pieces. So please ensure you put all your questions in that Q&A box. And if you have any questions or concerns and you just want to say hi, where you're from, please put that in the chat facility. It'd be great to hear from so many of you and what nationality you are. If you are watching on demand on YouTube, on our social channels, on our website, webinars@postgradsolutions.com is the best place to email us, or even if you would like a certificate of attendance for today, which we will be supplying at Postgrad Solutions, please ensure you put your personal details in that email. But for now, I'd like to hand you through to Diane Blything. She'll be taking you through the next 20 to 40 minutes, including the Q&A, and I'll be back for the questions at the end. Diane, over to you.
Thanks, Gareth. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here, and we're really excited to give you an overview of Cranfield and Chevening and talk about that application process. As Gareth has said, I'm Diane. I'm the Assistant Registrar for Student Funding. I manage our student funding team, and we look after a range of internal and external scholarships and the range of processes attached to those. Now, it's probably worth starting by saying I'm not a Chevening assessor. So obviously I work at Cranfield University. So why do you want to hear from me then is probably what you're wondering. So I've got a range of backgrounds that has led me to where I am now. I've worked in recruitment, where I was supporting small and medium-sized businesses with their internship and short-term requirements. So I was sourcing relevant students and graduates for their opportunities. After that, I worked at the University of Nottingham, again on an internship programme, supporting businesses to identify what their needs might be and to develop internship opportunities. I then moved to Cranfield 7 years ago, so I joined as a career development manager, and I worked one-to-one with students and also delivered workshops and webinars, all on topics to do with their careers. So that could be looking at a CV, that could be supporting with application forms, that could be looking at assessment centres and interviews. So that has really helped me understand, what students' questions might be, but also to deliver that information. And then from that, I moved over to the registry team. So as I've said, I'm the Assistant Registrar for Student Funding, managing those scholarship processes. Now that might be working with external organisations, and then on some of our programmes, that might be setting up and supporting with the recruitment and selection and shortlisting processes as well. So that's where my background is coming from. So that's where I'll be talking from today. So I'm basing my information on that, but obviously taking the Chevening guidance as well and using that to bring everything together. So that's me. We are really fortunate to be joined today as well by our panel members. So recognising how prestigious and important this scheme is, we thought it was only appropriate that you heard from Chevening and some of our Chevening scholars as well. So I'm going to ask our panelists if they could just pop their cameras on and come off of mute just to say hello to you quickly so you've seen them. I can see Karima. Karima, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Diane. Hi, everyone. I'm Karima from Morocco. I'm a Chevening Scholar and I'm doing Masters in Airport Planning and Management at Cranfield University. Very nice to meet you all.
Lovely. Thank you, Karima. Fiozella, over to you.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Fiocella Rira. I'm from Albania and currently I'm having MSc on Environmental Engineering as a Chevening Scholar. Happy to meet up, everyone.
Lovely, thank you. And Aoife.
Yes, hi everyone. My name's Aoife and I'm one of the program officers in the UK team here with Chevening. Essentially, my role is management and support of the scholars while they're in the UK. Lovely to meet you all.
Perfect. Thank you all. So we will be coming back to you all later. So I will ask, just for ease, if you pop your cameras off now, and then when we come to the panel discussion, we will bring you back in. So we'll be hearing from our lovely panelists very shortly. Before we move on to that, for those of you who've not come across Cranfield, I thought I would give a brief introduction. So we are a specialist postgraduate university, and our world-class expertise and large-scale facilities are given us unrivaled industry partnerships, which help us to create leaders in technology and management globally. We have some really unique facilities at Cranfield, and on the screen there you can see our very own flying laboratory. So for anyone interested in aerospace, that's quite unique to Cranfield. We are a rural university, so we're located between Bedford and Milton Keynes, but we have really good links into London as well. So what that means, and I'm sure our scholars will be able to tell you more if you're interested, is that you can really focus on your studies at Cranfield, but you're not paying the London prices. We are situated in the Oxford to Cambridge arc, which is a really significant area with important potential to drive economic growth across the UK. We are very proud of our achievements at Cranfield, and some of which you can see on screen. And I'll just pick out a few so as not to take too much time on this. But for example, we have the largest number of engineering master students in the UK. We are top 10% for environmental impact in the QS World University Rankings for Sustainability 2026. And we have a powerful alumni network with a community from over 170 countries. So it's a really exciting institution to be a part of. Our courses and research programs are shaped by the needs of business and industry, which responds directly to the challenges they face. So to best address these, our specialisms are aligned to specific sectors across management, engineering and applied sciences. These are listed on the screen and really show the range and diversity of opportunity at Cranfield. So hopefully there's something there for everyone in the audience to pick up on and be interested in. So that was a quick introduction to Cranfield. Obviously, you're here to learn about Chevening. So as you will all know, this is a hugely prestigious scheme. It's very competitive, and obviously it's got some criteria attached. You will hopefully all already be familiar with this. This is probably not new information, but I did want to take a time just to recap on this. So Chevening is to support full-time taught master's study in the UK. And in order to be eligible, you must be a citizen of a Chevening eligible country or territory. Now, I realise there's a link there because it links to the relevant page on the Chevening site. So you can go and look at that information in more detail to understand if you are an eligible citizen. A really important part of the Chevening programme is you must commit to returning to your home country for at least 2 years after your scholarship ends. Now, as we know, the purpose of Chevening scholarships are that they support future leaders to develop the skills they need to build more resilient societies and to enact change across the world. And this is done through the knowledge that they develop in the UK and take to their home countries. So that's a really important component and something you do need to consider before you apply. And then you need to have at least 2,800 hours of work experience after graduating from your undergraduate degree. So that equates to about 2 years, and only work experience from when you've completed your undergraduate degree counts. But your work experience can be anything. So that could be from full-time work, it could be part-time work, it might be that you volunteered or you've done some internships. So it all counts as work experience, but only from the point of that graduation from undergrad. And then you do need to hold that undergraduate degree to qualify you for a UK Masters programme. And as part of the Chevening guidance, you must have finished your studies at least 2 years before the Chevening deadline. So before we get into some of my top tips, the Chevening website outlines some key questions to ask yourself. So I really wanted to start here. This is really to help you to understand if you're ready to make an application and helps Chevening to look for people who are showing the greatest potential to lead positive change in their communities and across the world. So question number 1, do I have good examples of my leadership and influencing skills? So these are going to be key components of your application. So you really need to think of good examples and have those ready. Building professional relationships to help achieve positive outcomes. So your ability to build relationships and network will help showcase you as an effective leader. Your chosen course. So question 3, you need to be able to show that your chosen course will give you the skills to tackle the challenges that matter to the UK and your home countries. And question 4, you need to show that you have a clear, realistic and achievable post-study career plan, and particularly how that links to question 3 and those challenges that you've identified. So moving on to some of my top tips. And again, I will say here, I'm not a Chevening assessor. This is based on my previous experience in careers and employability and recruitment. Now, I'm going to start with the fact that you need to provide clear and concise answers. And this is particularly true where there's a word limit. So we do know that Chevening have reduced the word limit on some of their essays from 500 to 300 words. And this is to ensure that you get your point across quickly without going off on a tangent, because that could then dilute the strength of your answer. So really think, what is the question asking you, and get into the detail that they need. One way to help you do this is to use examples. So I've said here STAR. Now, I'm not sure if anyone has come across STAR before, but this is a really useful format for application answers or interview answers. So it's used anytime you're asked, can you give me an example of a time when, or tell me about a time? So the interviewer or the application is asking for a specific example. So it stands for situation, task, action, and result. This really helps you drill it into detail. So I'm going to give an example to show how that might work. So say, for example, you led a group project at university. So you might say, I led a group project at university and kept everyone motivated. Great. Okay, so that's really positive, but how did you actually do that? If we used the STAR example, if we broke it down, for example, the situation might be, in a group project, our team was struggling with low morale due to tight deadlines and unclear priorities, which was affecting overall performance. Your task might be, I took it upon myself to bring the team back on track. The actions you then took, I initiated regular team check-ins to clarify positives and priorities and encouraged open discussion so everyone could raise any concerns. I set clear goals for the team and recognised individual achievements to boost morale. And then the result of this, the team became more engaged and collaborative, and deadlines were met consistently. Overall productivity improved, and I received positive feedback from members of the team who noted that communication had improved. So rather than a one sentence example, you've really got into the detail. And you'll notice there I was saying I, because we want to know what you did, not what the team did, because if it's talking about yourself, what was your contribution? So use that format. You don't need to say STAR, you don't need to write situation, task, action, result, but you can use that format to help you give an example that's very clear and concise, but gives enough detail for an assessor to see what you did. And the next top tip is to tailor your applications and answers. So this is potentially quite obvious, but you need to make sure that you are keeping Chevening in mind when you are providing your information. Think about the goals of the scholarship and really have that at the heart of your answers. But then you also need to make sure that you're answering the question that's being asked. So I mentioned earlier, don't go off on a tangent. If they've asked about leadership, talk about leadership. If they've asked about networking, talk about a networking example. So really be specific, but tailor it to the information that's being asked. Be individual and use your own words. So we know from Chevening that the use of AI software to generate answers is prohibited. And actually they suggest that if you don't feel confident you can write a strong answer in your own words, it might be worth waiting and applying at a later stage. So that's the specific detail of that. But as someone who's read a lot of applications, as someone who has done a lot of recruitment and seen CVs, excuse me, you can really start to see when something is meaningful and when something has been generated by a person versus if it's AI generated. You can see it lacks a little bit of genuineness. It might follow a format that's quite predictable. So we really want to see in any application, but for Chevening, you need to come across and really showcase who you are. So that's why, let alone that AI is prohibited, this is your chance to showcase yourself. Research in your course and university. So This is important because you will be asked to talk about why you've chosen your university. You'll be given your answers based on your priority university. So you really need to understand what it is about them, how they'll help you achieve your goals, what issues you might be addressing back in your home country. And my top tip here is not just to copy and paste the About Me section of the university webpage, because you can have much more impact by really delving into the details. So are there any alumni you can connect with? Obviously, we're lucky on today's session. We've got 2 Chevening Scholars, but we have got more Chevening Scholars at Cranfield. And we've got an alumni of Chevening Scholars at Cranfield, and other universities will have the same. So is there anyone you can reach out to really find out what it's like to study your course? Is there an academic that you're interested in, that they've done a piece of research that's really relevant to you in your area? What facilities are there at that university? Really get into some of those details, because that will show that you've gone above and beyond and really taking the time to engage with your chosen university, your chosen course, and it will help you talk more passionately about your interests in them. Talking about passionate, I've used the word here, be compelling and passionate. So I've said before, your application is your opportunity to talk from your own words. It's your chance to showcase who you are. So you want to get this across in your answers and your personal statement. I would advise to avoid cliches, such as it has always been my dream to do something, unless it really has always been your dream. And in that case, explain why. Where did that come from? How did that come about? And what have you done to help get yourself on the path that you are so that you can achieve that dream? That really helps to showcase to anyone reading an application that that is genuine and from you. And then throughout any application, throughout your personal statement, you really want to showcase that you are the best person to receive this scholarship, and that needs to feel genuine. And that's what you'll be doing here. What do you bring? This is always an important question, because it's not just about what you'll get from the scholarship. We know they are a huge opportunity. We know they're really exciting to come and study in the UK. And obviously there's a really financial benefit to it. But what do you bring? How are you going to contribute? So how are you going to contribute to your course? How are you going to contribute to your university? How are you going to contribute to the Chevening goals? That is what you want to be talking about. And you really also want to think, what's my unique selling point? So that is something about yourself that no one else brings. Everyone has something. We are all individual. We are all unique. So what is your unique selling point? And you use your application, your personal statement to showcase these things. Continuing with my top tips, you want to select relevant references. So you'll be asked for references, and you want people who can provide the information that supports your leadership potential and future impact. I'd also suggest that you give your references a heads up that you're going to be asking them to be a reference, and tell them about your priorities, tell them about Chevening and what it is you're trying to showcase, so that they can be prepared to talk to provide information in a relevant format. Developmental impact. You need to understand the developmental impact in your home country. So we know that Chevening are increasingly looking at how your course and university support with their global priority areas. So make sure you've done your research about how you will have a developmental impact in your home country, and talk about this in your application. I've mentioned our Cranfield alumni, our Cheveningers who are on this call today. I've put it here as well. There's a global network of Chevening alumni. So really tap into that, utilise that. There'll be a wealth of knowledge out there to help you with your application, with understanding about universities. So really connect with them. It also helps you to build your network as well. So you need a professional network. So this will help you to build that if you start connecting with people now. Proofread. This is a really simple thing to do. I perhaps wasn't very good at it when I was at university, because I did the second point here as well, which was leave everything to the last minute to apply. So I can talk from personal experience that you need to proofread your application and perhaps get someone else to read it as well. So find a trusted family member, find a trusted friend who can critically but supportively review it to make sure that you're saying what you want to be saying in the best way possible. And obviously don't leave it to the last minute to apply. It can take time to pull together an application. There's a lot of information required. So you really want to allow yourself the best opportunity to do everything in time. Now, the other thing you want to make sure is that when you are submitting your application, if there are any hiccups, if there are any technical issues, you don't miss the deadline just because something like that has happened. So take the time you need to create a good application, but don't leave it to the very end so that you don't miss the opportunity by something sort of going wrong along the lines. Don't leave it to the last. No, I've said that one. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Now, we have some great examples at Cranfield of scholars who've been very resilient. They didn't get the scholarship on the first occasion. They didn't give up and they applied again, and they then did get to Cranfield. And I'm sure there are stories like that across the whole Chevening network. So don't be put off if you've already applied and weren't successful, or if you aren't successful next time round. Keep going. It doesn't mean you won't be successful another time. We just know it's a hugely competitive scholarship because it's so important to people. And then I've put at the end here, this could have gone at the end or at the beginning, but I thought it's important to finish on this, to follow the Chevening application guidance. So the Chevening website is brilliant. There's lots of information on there that's really helpful to you. So use that information to help you compile the best application that you can, and use all of the information about the word limits, what they're looking for, the developmental goals. All comes back to that, tailoring it to what Chevening need, and they provide the guidance to help you with that. So that's a lot of information I've just gone through, and I have finished with saying follow the Chevening application guidance. So I'm going to pause here because we're really fortunate to have someone from Chevening on the call. So I'm going to pass over to Aoife and ask if you wouldn't mind following up on some of these comments and see if there's any tips from Chevening from your perspective to build upon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dan. I agree. I think when applying, it's really important to start early and to stay organized. I think the strongest applications are the ones that have the most time and thought put into them. Additionally, I think it's a great idea to have someone to review your application and to seek feedback on that, whether from mentors or former scholars. It's important to really focus on your future rather than your past, and to kind of make clear your long-term vision, the legacy you want to build, and how Chevening and your chosen university fit into your larger mission. Like you said, really explain why your chosen university is the perfect fit for your goals. Go beyond university rankings, highlight the specifics of your first choice course, the teaching strengths, industry links, or unique opportunities that align with your vision. And I think also knowing that leadership isn't about titles, it's about initiative and impact. So highlight, moments where you stepped forward, you solved problems, or you influenced others. Chevening is a global network, so really make sure how you can, I guess, explain how you've built relationships, or you've collaborated across groups, or connected with people. I think if you hit really all of those benchmarks, those are the applications that I find are the most successful.
Perfect. Thank you, Aoife. That's really helpful to hear from you. And actually, we're going to continue to hear from you and our Cranfield scholars, because we're going to have a bit of a discussion now. So I will ask Fiazella and Karima to join us. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can actually see our panel members as well. So I think firstly, I'm going to come over to our scholars and ask you, how did you hear about the Chevening Scholarship opportunity? I don't know if you both want to pick that one up for me. Fiazella, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, so the first contact of me and the Chevening Scholar was like through a random scrolling on LinkedIn when I saw a post from the British Embassy in Albania. They were promoting an event about the Chevening alumni, and then I was like really interested to know what is this program, what does it support, and if I could apply on it. So was my first, like, let's say, contact with Chevening program, and then I went to the website, and then I found valuable information, but also the networking alumni in Albania. They have a dedicated page on Instagram. Then I started to send them questions and to ask them. So since that moment, I started to build everything.
Oh, amazing. Well, it's great to hear there that you found out about Chevening, but also you were using that network to ask questions before
Yeah.
you even applied. So we can pick up on that a little bit more in a moment. But Karima, what was your journey? How did you hear about Chevening?
It was actually in a quiet afternoon at work. I was sitting with some colleagues and just talking about what can we do like with our future. Are we just going to be working? Is there any? I was expressing my interest in pursuing a master's degree, and this woman just showed me this lady on Instagram saying, "Oh, she's just went on this scholarship. It's fully funded." And ever since then, I just started following her and following her journey. And then I looked up the scholarship, and then I just decided, yeah, this is it for me. I want to apply. That's it.
Amazing. And were you successful on your first application with Chevening?
No, this is my second time. The first time it was I didn't know what I was doing. I had no feedback from anyone, no one to help me proofread. I did it just like quietly, I didn't tell anyone. And my second time that was successful because actually I met a Chevening alumna during an exchange program that I was on, and she was this amazing, beautiful lady that helped me throughout the whole process.
Oh, amazing. No, it's great to hear that journey and that resilience to apply again and to use some support there to help you with your application. So well done, and well done to both of you. We've heard how important it is to identify your chosen university and why it's important to you and to your goals. So how did you both come across Cranfield? How did you make that decision that Cranfield was your priority university?
So for me, in fact, that time I had selected 3 universities, and the first one was Cranfield. Based on my previous experience in my previous master, this time I was looking for a more technical background, but beside that, I wanted an university that was oriented also to the industry. So what sparked my interest was also what I read to the website. I saw that University Cranfield was working with real problems, issues, worldwide issues, and that was the main thing that stood with me to apply to Cranfield University. And beside that, I wanted to. Okay, we have seen the big cities and everything, but this time I wanted to try something different, something unique. So, and being part of Cranfield, I have felt that thing because since from the side for the first assignment till now that we have finished the group project, we have worked with real problems, issues that are happening around the world. So that have made me feel happy and proud. Sorry, that I'm going to go back in my home country and to share my knowledge exactly on the real things that are happening around. So that was the first thing that sparked my interest to be part of Cranfield. And it was like the first time applying with Chevening, first time going to Cranfield, and it was everything done.
Oh, amazing. Well, it's great. It's great to see you smiling as you're sharing that story
Yeah.
as well, because we can see how proud you are, and we're
Yes.
proud of you and to have you as part of our Chevening and Cranfield community. So thank you. Karima, same question to you. How did you choose Cranfield? What led your
I mean,
decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was pretty straightforward. I'm in aviation, air traffic control. So for me, I have uh, Cranfield in the UK, Embry-Riddle in the US, and ENAC in France. So I had like 3 universities, and I went to Cranfield because I I actually before choosing, I was talking to this pilot at work, and I told him like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to study. I want to go for management, airport management, and he was like, you. Cranfield, you are at the pinnacle of aviation. That is the right university to go to if you want to do what you want to do. So I went on Chevening website looking up the courses that Chevening, uh, the eligible courses for Chevening Scholarship, and I found airport planning management, and I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And I just applied. Like even in my choices, I had Cranfield first and Cranfield second, then another university as my third choice. So it was Cranfield from the beginning. I had a clear vision that it is what I wanted to do, and I'm extremely happy that I did choose Cranfield.
Well, we're glad to, and it's really interesting hearing that story. You know, you spoke to a pilot. What I'm getting from your story, Karima, is you don't need to keep it a secret if you're making an application. Talk to people because they can help you. They can help you understand where you might want to apply, what's going to be useful to you, be a bit of a sounding board. So, that's great that that's coming through. So,
Yeah.
Aoife, I'd be interested to hear from you, and we've spoken separately that you can talk about this from the Chevening perspective, but also perhaps from a personal perspective. If anyone's sat on the call thinking, this sounds great, but I'm a bit nervous about, making the decision to study in the UK, what advice would you give to anyone to either study in the UK or to apply?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure if you can hear a fire alarm is actually happening right now. So I'm not sure if you want to just ask another question and then you can come back to me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you need to vacate, you do what you need to do, and we will hope to get to see you later on. Thank you. And there you go. That just shows that we are live. This is a real live session. So, Aoife, stay safe. Hopefully, we'll see you again. Okay, so perhaps Karima and Fiozella, you can answer that. What advice would you give to someone if they're unsure about applying?
So I think that everyone should try applying. Of course, like being abroad and away from the family or in a new academic perspective country, it may have their difficulties. Like, okay, it's like a different academic approach. Like, for example, if I say it for my country, that it was different, but by the time as you start to organize and you met people and you get updated to what's happening around, you are just adjusted to this one. So my first advice is just like, I had these doubts, like how it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be difficult. Am I going to be okay, or with everything happening it's going to be something new to me? But as you try and as you see each step, which is really easy, and also the support that you get from university since the first moment that you get their offer, and also the Chevening officer, and also the whole team that they're at the embassy, everything is like in the order, everything is organized and you feel safe. And for me it's like, just you have just to apply, just to try it. For me, Chevening, it has been a life-changing opportunity. I felt it since the moment that I got my final award letter, but even now every day, like going through my academic performance, but also my personal development. So I think that everyone have to try it.
I love that. And I think you've got to apply it and you've got to try is a
Yeah.
real important message, because if you don't try, you definitely won't get awarded a scholarship. So so a
Yeah.
great message there. So thank you. Karima, do you have any advice for anyone who might
Yeah.
be a bit nervous
Yeah.
or unsure?
Absolutely. I second everything that you said, Priscilla. I mean, as you say, like no risk, no reward. So you have to risk it. You have to apply and just I mean, what's the worst thing? I always like say this to myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? A no. And then you apply again, right? And what I loved about Compliance Achievement is that the way you're applying, writing those 4 essays, by the time you finish and you submit your application, you actually have a clear vision of who you are, what do you want to do, your experience, your leadership. It's like I have done so many things throughout my life, but I never really sat down and thought about them. While I was preparing my application, I sat down and I wrote every single thing that I did throughout my life, achievements and failures. And I started like reflecting on everything I did, and Chevening helped me with that. When I applied, I said, well, even if I don't get the scholarship, at least now I know who I am, what I want to do, what is my impact in this world, what I want to do for my country. So I kind of mapped out my life throughout those essays. For studying in the UK, I would say go for it. Literally, it's the most amazing experience ever. The amount of people I got to meet, the amount of networking I've done through Cranfield, it's absolutely wonderful. Like every module, we have tons of lecturers and networking. It's like sometimes I get really overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people that I'm talking to from different backgrounds, industry experts. So and also my classroom, we're like 12 people, all of us from different backgrounds, different nationalities. Each one of us brings something different to the table. And for me, that is really, really valuable because now I have lifelong friendships, lifelong like connections that will stay with me for forever. And I've got Chevening and Cranfield to thank for that. And so, yeah, I'll just circle back and go back to the fact that just apply, apply, apply.
That's such a great message, and it's so great to hear from you both about your experiences. So you mentioned that, actually looking at those 4 essay answers was probably a really helpful exercise to understand more about yourself. What a powerful position to be in. In terms of the applications then, so what do you think would have made your application stand out? If we can think, what would help some people on the call? How can they help their application to stand out?
Okay. So what I did firstly in my experience that first I went to YouTube. I'm pretty sure that most of the applicants that do that because we are like checking for the information or to get any other experience or from other Chevening alumni. But I'm pretty sure that even Karima has felt that sometimes like everyone has a unique background, unique experience on everything that you do. So first, for example, if I go to the leadership essay, what I did, like I try to create a balance between my environmental background, my motivation at that moment, and which is my vision and which would be my impact in my country. So I think that was, but also during the time I was doing the application, I was trying to make the most to be authentic and to put the impactful measurements outcomes that I did during this journey. So I think that is really important to put that your passion, your dedication, but also to be authentic there and to create a wonderful balance between what you are, which is your motivation, what you want to change in your country, what you want to bring in your country during this experience. So I haven't understood that even during that period, but even during the period that I was trying to do the process, that I learned so much during that process that I was like, okay, I need to do the essay of leadership, but I was not sure what was leadership on Chevening, what was looking Chevening to a person regarding to the leadership. So you mentioned even something, a really nice technique, STAR technique. It helps a lot. It helps a lot to organize your thoughts. It helps a lot to manage and organize also the time. Because for example, I started mine on September, but by the time you have to organize your thoughts, to prepare yourself how to write everything. So this is what I'm in generally what I usually advise even to other people when they ask. So I think that just you have to create a balance and to be really straightforward on what you want to do, what you want to reach, and want to go back and to send back to your home country.
Perfect, thank you. Karima, from your perspective, what advice for someone on their application, and then what do you think helped your application to stand out?
Well, the first thing I would say is talk to someone as you are applying, because that was my first mistake in the first application. I didn't speak to anyone. I was doing it very quietly and I was all over the place. I didn't know how to write my essays. I didn't know the STAR method. I didn't know how to do anything. But the second time around, when I met Achievement alumna, a beautiful lady from Kyrgyzstan, she told me to do this, like just take a week or 2 weeks to just sit down, write your achievements, your failures, examples of leadership, anything from high school, from university, from work, from anything. Just write down everything on a notebook or a piece of paper. Just brainstorm everything. It makes it easy for you to choose the most relevant example of leadership that you need to use, the most relevant example of networking, the most relevant example of what you want to do in your country, and all of that. And what I really like that makes the STAR method pretty easy, because you identify everything and you really know, oh, that was the situation, this is what I was supposed to do, and this is what I did, and this is the outcome. And one thing that I did, and she told me to do this, and I found it a very valuable tip, is build a theme around your essays. So at the end, when you read your 4 essays, it sounds like a story portraying yourself and who you are. So my theme was aviation and women empowerment. So I was writing my essays around that, always circling back to my vision, my goals, and my objectives. And so I don't know, for example, like when I'm speaking about my journey, I'm speaking about it like I am actually speaking about a plane from departure to destination and how it goes. Like the milestones in my life, I call them the significant waypoints, which are the points that a plane has to go over while they're going on their journey. So something like this, make it stand out. So in my essays, I'm always like, hook, STAR method, and then circling back to my objective. So I followed this, and I think this was, what stood out.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for your perspectives there. I've learned an awful lot about the process and sort of the details. I'm going to see, Aoife, if you're still having a fire alarm, if you still need to evacuate.
Hi, yes, sorry about that. No, it was a test of the fire alarm, so we didn't have to evacuate, but I obviously didn't want to risk having a very loud alarm in the background of me answering the question. But yeah, no, it's finished now, so happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Lovely, thank you. Well, we'd started by asking you about any tips for anyone who, or advice for somebody who might be nervous about making the decision to apply for Chevening. So is there anything you could say about that?
Yeah, no, I think definitely it can be very daunting making the decision to sort of uproot your life and move across the world. I know myself when I moved over to do my master's, I was incredibly nervous before making that decision. But I do think that, you know, everyone arrives feeling a little unsure, but truly within like the first few weeks, you'll start to find your rhythm. But I think the key to that is to really throw yourself into everything, every opportunity, both academically and personally as well. And so, in saying that, I really encourage people within the first weeks to say yes to everything. Networking events, cultural activities, volunteering, even if it's just getting a coffee with a classmate, as that's how you'll like make friends, start to get settled, feel a lot more comfortable as well. And also just remember that, you know, sometimes it may feel like it, but you're not doing this alone. There's people from all over the world coming to the UK in the exact same position. And then they're all also adjusting to moving and studying. So just remember, you know, that like your university, your cohort, and then also, you know, the Chevening community are all there to support you as well.
Thank you. And it was great. I could see Karima and Fiazella were both nodding in agreement with everything you were saying there. So thank you. And I think something that's really unique and really beneficial about Chevening is, well, you and your role. You're a program officer. So can you tell the audience what that means? What do you do?
Yes, so essentially, the main kind of part of my role is to support the scholars during their time here in the UK. So that takes many various forms, whether it be financial support. So I'm in charge of their monthly stipend payments and their arrival and departure allowances, but then also pastoral support. So I provide welfare support. We host various events for the scholars as well, that they can participate with in their leisure that we come along to. And we also conduct site visits. So I'll come out to the universities and meet the scholars face to face and really hear any questions or queries that they have, and then kind of get to know them. So it's not just contact via email. We get to know each other, you get to meet each other, and really have that more personal touch as well, which I think is something that's it's a great aspect about Chevening. You know, I really enjoy getting to hear about the scholars, their lives, what they're working towards. It's truly my favorite part of the role.
It's so great, and I'm nodding because we met you just a few weeks ago at Cranfield, and we could see that from the way you were, you know, working with our scholars and asking them about themselves. So that was sort of really genuine from you. So thank you. I think the audience could probably hear from you all for the remainder of the session, but I do have a few more slides, and I know we want to have a Q&A at the end as well. So I'm going to reshare and then move on with the presentation so we can then have some questions at the end. But thank you to all of you for joining the session, and we might have some questions for you later on as well. Let me just reshare. So we've heard from our wonderful panel members, so well done and thank you to you all. So I'm just going to go through a couple more pieces of information for you. The Chevening timeline, you will hopefully all already have seen this on the Chevening web pages. Now, the timeline to apply for 2027, the exact dates have not yet been confirmed, but we expect applications to open in August 2026 with a deadline in October or November. So you know, we really need to start early because it is a competitive process. And then throughout early 2027, that's where applications will be reviewed by the Chevening different panels and in-country panels, and you would be invited to interview sort of in the springtime. You would hear the outcome of your scholarship in June, and then July is when you would need to have your unconditional course offer. So I would suggest that you apply to your chosen university and your chosen course much earlier than that, so that you can make sure that you secure a place on the course and you meet all of your course conditions as well. So it's quite a long process by nature of how competitive it is. It needs to be. And then obviously we're looking at the scholarship for courses that start in September, October 2027. So we've heard a lot about Chevening today. That's why you're all here. But we've also heard that you might not be successful the first time around, or you might want to consider other opportunities as well. So I've just taken a few I'll take a few moments just to look at other options for you to consider. So you might find that your university has course or university specific scholarships that you can apply to. So make sure that you take a look at your course and university web pages. There might be charities or trusts that specifically want to help people to get further education to go into a master's degree study. So again, think outside the box, look at smaller charities. They might have smaller funds. You can then stack them all up on top of each other, or there might be other larger scholarships for you to apply to. Educational loans are always something you could consider. I am not a financial advisor, so I will not give you any advice on whether you should do this or not, but it's just so that you're aware of the options that are out there. Part-time work, we are often asked about part-time work. So if you are funding your studies yourself, you're looking for alternative routes to fund your studies, then this is something you may wish to consider. With the caveat that you're always supposed to be focusing on your master's degree. And obviously, if you're a scholar, you'd need to follow the scholarship guidelines about whether you can or can't work as well. And then some people might be in the fortunate position that they can have some family support with their studies as well. So I mentioned that just so you're thinking about all of the options that are available to you to help you achieve your goals. Again, if you are looking at larger international scholarships, there are others out there. I won't take too much time on this, but just look at all of your options is the message I want to get across here. And then for Cranfield, if you are applying to Cranfield, if you are looking at funding opportunities, you will see that we have a student funding and scholarships webpage. So I've put a screenshot of that on the screen here. This has got lots of information for you. Another key place for you to look is under the fees and funding section of your specific course page, so that you can find out what's relevant specifically to that course at Cranfield to help you find sort of targeted information. Looking a bit more at our student funding and scholarships page, you will see that we have links out to lots of different ones, and Chevening is one of the key scholarships that we promote. But then also we've got what's called our funding finder. So that's the screenshot on the sort of right of this page, and that's a searchable database of funding opportunities at Cranfield. So for anyone who is interested, who might not be eligible for Chevening, or who is looking for alternative sources of funding, and you want to come and look at Cranfield, then please do explore these pages to find out what's available to you. Now, I hope that that's been useful. I certainly found it really insightful to hear from our panelists, but I'm going to draw to a close there and say thank you to everyone for listening. These are the contact details for the student funding team on the webpage, on the page here. And I can see, Gareth, you've come back online, so we'll be ready to take any questions.
I have, and thank you for your time. Do you know what? That's gone so quickly. We often host webinars and they're a little bit slow. We get to the end and we're like, how have we got there? That's been so quick. 15 minutes has just flown by, and I thank everyone, including yourself, for all the information. There's been loads and loads and loads of questions come in. And Diane, what I'll do is I'll aim the question towards you to begin with, and then if you want to invite one of your colleagues on to kind of elaborate further, then please feel free to do so. There's been questions that I want to focus on to begin with, and then those that have been answered already. So, do I need to secure admission from Cranfield University first before applying for the scholarship program? Apologies, a lot of this you would have covered already, but I want to cover again and make sure that we've got all the answers to the question. So, do they need to apply first, or do they need to go to the Chevening? How does that work?
So you need to apply for the scholarship. You don't have to have your offer of study before you apply for the scholarship, but I would recommend you get your course application in nice and early as well. So the deadline to have your unconditional offer for Chevening will be in July of the year that you want to study, but before that you will have conditions and academic conditions you need to meet to gain that offer. So getting your course application in nice and early is going to help put you in the best possible place to do that.
Excellent. And does the scholarship cover everything? Is it a full scholarship?
So yes, yeah. So I didn't go into those details. We were looking at the application side, but yes, it's a full scholarship, which is, why it's so competitive, but also why it's so beneficial for people. So that includes obviously your travel to and from the UK, you get a monthly stipend, tuition fees are taken care of for you. So yeah, really, really, really useful scholarship there.
Again, a lot of this might be a bit repetitive, but we'll kind of go into it because students have asked it. For application or applicants who were previously unsuccessful, what meaningful improvements usually make the biggest difference in a reapplication? Now, we heard about earlier, I think it was Karima who first time didn't get through, second time, and the things she did differently. Karima, I don't know if you perhaps want to just come on and answer that one in terms of what you did the second time that helped you get onto the initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first time, as I've said, I was like all around the place. I didn't have any clear examples of what I was doing, any leadership examples. I wasn't really clear on what I wanted to do and my objective and what is my impact when I come back. But as I've said, I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't tell anyone, so I had no idea. I didn't even use the STAR method. So I would say talking to someone, maybe a Chevening alumni, maybe someone who can proofread your application. They would help. I mean, I always find I learned from this experience that feedback is really important. So uh, I would say three pro tips. Have a theme around your application, what you're writing about, your circle back to your objectives and your mission always in your essays. Use the STAR method, it's effective. And before doing all of this, write down and brainstorm all your achievements, failures, leadership examples so that you are clear and not overwhelmed when you have to write down the essays. When you put everything on a paper, your brain is not foggy, everything is written down, and then you choose the relevant example or the thing that really showcases who you are, and it makes it easier for you to just start writing down, and then please give it to someone to read it for you so that they can spot all the little things that you couldn't do in the first go. I hope that helps.
Thank you. It does, yeah. Diane, if I can come back to you because and you might want to elaborate further with the other two scholars also. One of the things that we didn't really talk about too much was the other factors when students are moving here. So I include accommodation, budgeting, is it affordable? How does a student go about planning for those things? Because obviously, a student will go, I'm going to apply for a Chevening scholarship, but quite often they forget they need somewhere to live and they need to work out if it's affordable and if they can live in that area. Um, does the university offer help with that? And is that on campus?
Yeah, no, great question. Thank you. And I can obviously only talk from the perspective of Cranfield. So for anyone
Yeah, of
looking at other
course.
universities might have to reach out to their institution. So so yes, we do offer support. So if you receive an offer from Cranfield, you will then hear from our accommodation team who will speak to you about reserving accommodation on campus, or if you choose to be off campus, then that is at your own choice. But usually I find our Chevening scholars choose to live on campus and then build their own networks with other scholars and other Cranfield peers as well. You will be in touch with student funding teams. So that's part of our role, is to work with EFA and our scholars to make sure that that onboarding process is nice and easy. So if you've got questions, that's just another point of contact for people to ask a question. And we do have a page called Managing Your Money on our web pages, which gives an overview of what things might cost. Now, obviously, you'll have a stipend, so you'll know how much that monthly stipend is going to be. You'll know how much your accommodation is going to cost, so you'll understand quite quickly how much leftover money you might have. It is a scholarship to fund your studies, so it's not so that you can come just traveling around the UK, but we do find that our scholars find ways to have some great experiences while they're in the UK as well. But if you're still unsure, then reach out to someone from Cranfield, reach out to one of our Chevening scholars, find out how they're making it work, what tips they've got for their budget as well. So use that network to get the real answer and
Yeah.
understanding as well.
And do people work part-time? Do they go and get an internship? What do students do when they're there at Cranfield? Do they, or is it so prestigious and important that actually a lot of people just focus on the education for a year?
So from my understanding is that a lot of people just focus on their education for the year, and I don't want to give the wrong information. I don't know if Aoife can answer this, whether Chevening scholars are allowed to work part-time.
Yes, no, they are able to work part-time, but that does then have an impact on their monthly stipend amount as well. So it's all very dependent on what they decide to do, but we find mostly that scholars dedicate their time towards their studies, and then use that to seek internships and work experience afterwards.
Yeah, of course. And if I can come to you, Karima, to begin with, what was your experience around that? Obviously, you mentioned obviously where you are now, but when you were, when you were doing your studies and you were, and it was very important to you, did you find time to kind of do things that were recreational and even part-time work, or was it flat out education all the way?
For me, I chose to do education. I'm focusing on my
Yeah.
master's because, to be honest, you can do it, but it gets pretty intense in Cranfield. You've got modules back to back, assignments back to back. You can do it, but it's just the deadlines are like one after the other, so you have to focus. So I think for me, I chose to focus on my master's to make the most out of it, and also do some extracurricular activities so I can network and socialize, and just manage my budget around that. I mean, on the website in Cranfield, you can see the prices for every type of accommodation, and then you decide and calculate how you want to do that. And it's pretty if you manage well, it's pretty affordable with the cheating stipend and everything. So, but as soon as you finish your models, maybe and your group project, maybe you can do a part-time job then if you would love to. But for me, I just focused on my master's.
Excellent, thank you. Um, Diane, if I can just ask quickly, it's such a simple question that's come in, but I think it's really important to talk about it. Is there an age limit? Because I think so many people think they reach a certain age and that's it. I can't go to university, I can't go and do my master's. But actually, the biggest increase in student population that we've seen has actually been what we call mature students, which is, let's say, 30 plus. It's important to remember that the Chevening Scholarship is designed for students who have got that experience and have got that education and that bit of know-how behind them, haven't they? So naturally, they will perhaps be of a different age to your stereotypical postgraduate student, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that actually you need to have completed your bachelor's degree 2 years before the deadline for Chevening. So by very nature of that, you will already have um, sort of progressed a little bit further. There's no age limit for applying for a course at Cranfield. As far as I'm aware, and Aoife, please jump in and correct me again. There's no age limit for Chevening.
Yeah, no age limit for Chevening. We have scholars who were born in the 60s and 70s, scholars born in the 2000s. But yeah, similarly to like you said, they need to have a bachelor's degree and that 2 years of work experience. So we find that they are sort of mostly in late 20s, early 30s, that kind of age group.
I mean that must make, just keeping with yourself if that's okay, that must make fantastic networking opportunities as well, because obviously you're getting a blend of older and younger as well, and the experiences that they'll learn off each other must be fantastic.
Definitely, yeah. And I think also at all of the various social and professional events that we hold as well, the scholars really take advantage of that. These are people that have such a drive and initiative. And so, they really take advantage of all the opportunities that Chevening gives them.
Excellent, thank you. And just keeping with yourself and Diane as well, it's kind of the elephant in the room a little bit. A lot of students that will apply will go, well, why can't I use AI? And we did get a student ask earlier, I'm curious, how do you know if it's AI generated information? It's very easy to spot, isn't it? But also, I would imagine you would argue you're doing it a disservice to yourself, because if you can't sell yourself, no one's going to sell it better than you. Um, what happens if you do identify someone that has very clearly used artificial intelligence platforms?
Yeah, so I myself am not directly involved in that process, but I do have a little bit of insight. Essentially, if it is quite obvious that AI has been used, they won't progress to
Yeah.
being invited for an interview. But also, I think if it does get to a stage where they kind of get invited to an interview having used AI, it does become very apparent in that interview stage. A lot of times the scholars, like the interview candidates, won't be able to refer back to something that they've written in their application. They may not have the English level skills that were exhibited within the application. So it does become very clear. And I find that, the scholars that do get accepted and do get awarded are very genuine, and it's a certain type of person that gets selected. And yeah, no, I find that we're pretty good at flagging AI, and we kind of have multiple checks in place so that it doesn't kind of progress to that stage.
And look, I think it's important to point out that AI is a big part of our lives now, and it will be a big part of the future. And it's important you use it to help you, but not overtake what you're doing. So students, if you are watching, please factor that in. Don't let it overtake what you're doing, but please use it to help you. And Diane, just to wrap up very quickly, there was a really nice slide that you mentioned, and you went into detail about the different funding opportunities, because there will be many students that are unsuccessful in applying for a Chevening Scholarship with Cranfield. Important that they then communicate with you to see what is available for them if they still want to come to Cranfield. How would they go about doing that once they've been unsuccessful applying for the Chevening Scholarship?
So the first thing you can do is contact the team here. So our email address is on the screen. My colleagues, I should have mentioned actually, are on the chat. So we've got Jill and Jess who are on the chat. Jill is our student funding advisor. So if you email the student funding email address, it's Jill you'll probably be speaking to, who'll be able to help you identify if there's any other suitable funding available for you. It is worth bearing in mind that all of the full scholarships have quite early deadlines. So if you are considering that you need to have a full scholarship in order to do your studies, you need to be thinking about that nice and early. If you're looking at alternative sort of partial scholarships, then they might come later. So that's when we can help signpost different opportunities. But speak to us, speak to your university, see what's suitable for you, see what options there are.
Excellent. Thank you for all of your time as well. I think the biggest takeaway I got from that, and it was mentioned at the very start, was communication. Please communicate with all of those involved. There's no point hiding. If you are applying, shout about it, make people aware, get as much help as possible. I think it might have been Karima that mentioned it earlier. Talk to people, get a good network around you to ensure that you're doing the best you possibly can. And if you are unsuccessful, you go again and again and again. But for now, thank you very much, all of you involved. It's been a brilliant session. Loads of questions asked, loads of people watching. And apologies if we haven't been able to ask your question today. That we've tried to paraphrase as much as possible and try and broaden the questions rather than the quite niche questions. But if you do have any questions, look at the email address on your page now, studentfunding@cranfield.ac.uk. Please reach out to them. They're a lovely bunch, as we can see. Or if you want to contact us and you're watching on demand and you're just not sure, webinars at postgradsolutions.com. But for now, thank you to all of you for participating, to the panelists, everyone in the background, Jill answering questions in the background. You're there somewhere. Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you again, hopefully after the Chevening applications have finished, to see how successful you have been. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and good luck, everyone.